In the 1970s, David Cassidy was a teen idol on the Partridge Family. He knows what it's like to be a boy that all teenage girls want to be with. They also talk about what it's like to see their mugshot all over the news and how they get help. Millions of people loved David Cassidy as the charming Keith Partridge on the Partridge Family. He was one of the most popular teen idols on TV. Even the biggest fans were shocked by the truth behind the smiles and catchy songs. One of them was a brief private meeting with co-star Susan Dey, which David would later deeply regret. The story was kept secret for years, which led to interest in guesswork. What did they do to each other? What changed about Cassidy's life and career that made it last so long? People will find out the truth, which will surprise both fans and the whole industry. David Cassidy has a hard time leaving a legacy. David Cassidy was born in New York City on April 12, 1950. His parents, actors Jack Cassidy and Evelyn Ward, gave him a love of show business from a young age. David grew up in a family with a lot of experience in show business, so it seemed almost inevitable that he would follow in their footsteps. As a child, he was exposed to the fast-paced, demanding, and exciting world of show business. These experiences taught him lessons that would later shape his career. As a lead in The Fig Leaves Are Falling on Broadway in 1969, he started to make his own way in the business. Even though reviews of the production were mixed, Cassidy's performance showed how talented and versatile he is. This early-stage experience not only helped him get better as a performer, but it also laid the groundwork for a career that would soon enchant people all over the world. His performance on stage showed that he was a performer who could connect with audiences by combining charm with real musical skill, which would become a trademark of his career. In 1970, David Cassidy got the part of Keith Partridge in the hit TV show The Partridge Family. This was the big break that would define his early career. From 1970 to 1974, the show followed a musical family as they dealt with the ups and downs of life and show business. It was a great mix of humor, music, and family dynamics that really hit home with viewers. People fell in love with Cassidy's performance as Keith, the oldest son who was charming and talented. Many people loved him because he looked like a boy and was naturally good at music. And his influence went far beyond what you saw on TV. He became famous all over the world because of the show. Fan clubs sprung up in many countries, and his picture was on posters, magazines, and other items. Cassidy was able to show off his acting skills on The Partridge Family, and they also let him try out his musical skills by letting him perform songs that became hits on their own. It was during this time that he became famous all over the world and a teen idol whose popularity seemed impossible to control. Cassidy's first album, David Cassidy, came out in 1972 and was a big step toward making a name for himself as a solo artist. People bought a lot of copies of the album, which showed that his skills went beyond acting. The way it was received proved that he could captivate audiences not only on TV but also through music, making him known as a performer who could stand on his own. He built on this success by putting out the album Cherish in 1973, which had the hit single of the same name. With its catchy melody and Cassidy's unique voice, the song quickly rose to the top of the charts and became a fan favorite. This release made him even more of a star in the music business and brought him more fans, showing that he could hold people's attention on screen and in the studio. The way he could connect with people through music became an important part of his career. Adding to his already impressive TV work and letting him stay active in a number of entertainment areas at the same time. Cassidy released The Higher They Climb the next year, in 1974, which included the hit single of the same name. The success of the album showed how independent he was becoming as a musician and how his sound was changing, showing a more mature way of writing songs and performing them. By this point, Cassidy had made a name for himself as a TV and music star, which is something that not many entertainers are able to do. Fans all over the world were looking forward to his albums and concerts, and critics started to see that he was more talented than just a teen idol. It was his music that people all over the world loved, and the fact that he could easily switch between acting and singing kept him famous in the early 1970s. At this point, he was at the height of his teen idol fame, and fans flocked to concerts, TV shows, and public events to see the star who had won so many hearts. Cassidy released an album called Getting It in the Street in 1976. Mick Ronson helped write the song title track. This project showed that he wanted to try new things with his music style and move away from the teen idol image that had shaped a lot of his earlier work. Cassidy showed that he was committed to artistic growth and ready to explore different parts of his musical identity with this album. He worked with other great musicians on the album and tried out sounds and themes that were more mature and complex than those on his previous albums. Getting It in the Street showed Cassidy's determination to be taken seriously as an artist, showing that he was more than just a TV star or pop star. It also kept its commercial appeal. This time of trying new things showed how much he wanted to push the limits of his creativity and keep growing as a performer, even though people had high hopes for him because of his early fame. Cassidy came back to the music scene in 1985 with the release of Romance, after a time away from the spotlight. This album was his comeback and showed how talented and dedicated he still is to his craft. It showed growth in both personal and professional areas, showing a mature artist who had dealt with the difficulties of fame and the stresses of working in the entertainment business. Cassidy was able to reconnect with longtime fans through Romance, as well as reach new people who might not have known his earlier work. Through going back to his musical roots and adding modern influences, he showed that he could change with the times without losing his artistic identity. He was able to keep his musical style while changing things about himself. This helped him keep connecting with fans and building a long-lasting career, proving that he was a versatile and tough performer. Cassidy put out another self-titled album called David Cassidy in 1990. It had the hit single Lyin' to Myself. The album made him more important in the music business and showed that he could still make interesting, commercially successful music. Cassidy's music continued to be popular with fans even decades after he first became famous, showing that he was still popular. The single's success showed that his skill and creativity had not faded over time, and his ongoing ability to make music that people could relate to showed how influential he would remain. He kept going even when things got hard in the business, which showed how strong he was and how much he loved performing. These are qualities that would define his career for decades to come. In addition to his work in music and TV, Cassidy also tried his hand at reality TV by appearing on Celebrity Apprentice in 2011. This show introduced him to a new group of viewers and showed how versatile he is as an entertainer. Cassidy was able to show off his personality, work ethic, and ability to adapt in a modern way by appearing on reality TV, which was different from his previous work on stage and screen. It also showed that he was ready to take advantage of new chances and stay in the public eye even after he has finished his career. By making this appearance, Cassidy continued to connect with audiences, solidifying his reputation as a multifaceted performer whose impact spanned decades, David Cassidy's problems, and his last years. After his amazing career successes, David Cassidy had to deal with a number of personal problems that made his life outside of the public eye even more complicated. Millions praised Cassidy's skills as an actor and musician, but he struggled with alcoholism for most of his adult life. His struggle with drug abuse wasn't just a private matter. It had an effect on his health, made his relationships tense, and often interacted with the stress at work. To become a teen idol at a young age and become famous right away can make personal problems seem worse. Cassidy's experience was the same. The constant attention from the media and the expectations of millions of fans around the world put a lot of stress on him and made him dependent on others. His willingness to talk about these problems later in life showed a rare honesty and gave fans and other people interested in celebrity life a look into the personal side of things. It also showed how hard it is to stay healthy when everyone is watching your every move and the demands of fame leave you with little time for privacy or self-care. Cassidy soon had to deal with another big problem: money problems. This shows that fame and money don't always mean long-term stability. Many people were shocked when he filed for bankruptcy in 2015 because they remembered how popular and successful he was in the 1970s. The bankruptcy was caused by bad money management and ongoing personal problems. This shows that even famous entertainers can end up with a lot of legal fees, years of inconsistent income, and bad investments. Cassidy's money problems were a stark reminder of how the highs and lows of public life can hide deep-seated weaknesses. When it's at its peak, fame can be very profitable, but it also often comes with unstable income streams and complicated financial duties. His bankruptcy showed how fragile wealth is in the entertainment business, where having a long career doesn't always mean you'll be able to retire comfortably. Additionally, it showed that when personal and professional stresses come together, they can make things hard for even the strongest people. Cassidy's personal life, especially his relationships, were rough, which made his later years even more difficult. He got a divorce from Sue Schifrin in 2016 after 25 years of marriage. She was his third wife. Cassidy went through a very emotional time in her life when her long-term marriage ended. It showed how hard it is to keep personal relationships going when you're famous for a long time and have to deal with the stress that comes with that. Divorce in old age can be very hard on the emotions, but for Cassidy, it was made worse by the fact that he was famous and people talked about his personal problems. This couple's divorce showed how personal choices, public opinion, and relationship dynamics can all affect each other. It also showed how fame can make both happiness and sadness worse. These changes in people's lives did not happen by themselves, but at the same time as other problems, like money problems and health issues, making it harder to find stability and normalcy. Health problems added a new dimension to Cassidy's later years and brought attention to how weak and vulnerable he was as a person. In 2017, he told the public that he had been diagnosed with dementia, a disease that gets worse over time and makes it harder to remember things, think clearly, and do everyday things. This news made people more aware of the truth about getting older and getting sick, encouraging people to remember that being famous doesn't protect you from getting sick. Cassidy's openness about his illness gave a moving and more human view. It also showed courage in the face of a disease that slowly takes away independence and pride. It also showed how important it is to understand, care about, and help people who are dealing with serious health problems, especially when these problems are in the public eye. Many of the problems he had in his last years made more sense after learning about his diagnosis. They added depth to the story of a man who had spent much of his life under the spotlight of fame. Poor David Cassidy passed away on November 21, 2017, at the age of 67, after having problems with his liver. There were many amazing artistic achievements, huge public adoration, and deep personal struggles in his life that came to an end with his death. Fans from all over the world were very sad when they heard about his death. They remembered not only his talent and charisma, but also the person behind the fame. Cassidy's story shows how the stresses of public life and personal problems can mix in a complicated way, bringing about both success and hardship. There were millions of happy people who saw and heard his music and TV shows, but his personal struggles show that even people who seem like they have it all can be hurt. Susan Day's journey through hardships. Thinking about David Cassidy's amazing career makes you think of his sister, Sharon Cassidy Day, who was better known as Susan Day, and how she made her own important way in the entertainment business. Susan was born on December 10, 1952, in Pekin, Illinois. Her parents were Ruth Pyle Day, a nurse, and Robert Smith Day. She grew up in a normal American family, far from the glitz and glamour she would later experience. Day was interested in performance and stories from a very young age. He had a natural curiosity and a knack for making characters come to life. This early interest, along with her determination to learn how to act, set the stage for a career that would be marked by both public and critical acclaim. Being disciplined and grounded as a child gave her skills that would help her a lot as she navigated the complicated world of fame and the entertainment business. Susan Day became famous for her role as Laurie Partridge on the popular TV sitcom The Partridge Family, which ran from 1970 to 1974. The show followed the daily lives of a musical family as they dealt with the demands of fame and the difficulties of personal relationships. People really connected with it, especially young people who admired Day's poise, charm, and realistic portrayal of a public high school student growing up. Day almost overnight became a teen idol, just like her brother David did. She gained fans all over the United States and internationally. Both acting and singing were required for her part, which not only showed how versatile she was but also made her a major figure in pop culture in the 1970s. The success of the Partridge Family gave Day a chance to look for work in movies and on other TV shows. This helped her build a career that would change over the years. Day's first movie role was in Skyjacked, which came out in 1972 and starred Charlton Heston. It was Day's first movie role in a movie theater, and it was in a thriller about a hijacked plane. It was her chance to show how versatile she is as an actress. At the time, she was mostly known for her work on TV, but her performance in Skyjack showed that she could handle different types of roles and levels of difficulty. Even though this early work in movies wasn't as successful as her TV work, it was very important for building her credibility as an actress and laying the groundwork for bigger projects in the future. In addition, it showed a dedication to her craft that went beyond the quick fame that came with being a teen star. It also showed her desire to learn more about the depth and breadth of acting as a career. In 1977, she starred in the one-season sitcom Loves Me, Loves Me Not, which was part of her TV career. Even though the show didn't get as much attention as The Partridge Family, it did give Day a chance to play a variety of characters and story settings, which helped her become a better actor. This project also showed how willing she was to take risks and not fit the mold of a teen idol. This showed that she knew early on how important it was to grow professionally. She gained a lot of experience during this time that helped her get ready for the bigger, more well-known roles that would define her career over the next 10 years. Through projects like Loves Me Not, she improved her ability to give different characters depth and realism, showing that she is dedicated to her work and wants to keep her career going for a long time. Day expanded her career even more in 1981 when she was in the science fiction movie Looker, which was directed by Michael Crichton. The movie looked at issues like how the media is manipulated, technology, and how people's looks affect society. It gave Day a chance to work on intellectually stimulating material that was very different from her earlier work. Even though Looker wasn't a big hit, it was an important step in Day's artistic development and showed that she was ready for challenging and different roles. This choice showed that she was focused on professional growth and didn't want to be typecast, which shows that she wants to keep learning new things and look into projects that were both creatively and conceptually difficult. By working on projects that required her to think critically and be flexible, she proved that she could handle roles that required more than just surface-level acting, which built her reputation as a serious and thoughtful actress. The most important part of Susan Day's career was playing Grace Van Owen on the legal drama LA Law from 1986 to 1992. This part gave Day a chance to show off all of her dramatic skills, which earned her praise from critics and a lot of attention. Many people praised her for playing Van Owen, a strong, smart, and morally sound character. In 1988, she won a Golden Globe Award and was nominated for several Emmys. The show was important to culture because it dealt with tough social issues and moral problems and showed viewers how to deal with legal and personal problems in a nuanced way. Day's performance on LA Law showed that she could move beyond the teen idol roles she had played earlier in her career. It made her a respected Hollywood star who was liked by both audiences and critics. During this time, she showed that she could handle emotionally and socially difficult material, which made her a more serious actress with a long career in the business. Since 1992 until 1995, Day co-starred in the sitcom Love and War. Even though the show wasn't as serious as LA Law, it gave her a chance to balance comedic and dramatic elements, showing that she can adapt and appeal to a wide range of people. She became more flexible during this part of her career, showing that she chose roles in a way that kept her relevant and gave her professional satisfaction. Her performance in Love and War showed that she really knew how to keep the audience interested, showing how good she was at playing roles that needed both humor and emotional depth. By taking on a range of dramatic and comedic roles, Day kept her career moving and strong, preventing stagnation and pushing herself as an actress all the time. In the 1993 TV movie Lies and Lullabies, Day played a pregnant cocaine addict, which was one of the hardest and most important roles of her career. This role was very different from the good guy she had played in her early career. It called for a nuanced and sympathetic portrayal of addiction, vulnerability, and human struggle. Dealing with such a touchy subject required both technical skill and emotional maturity, which Day had built up over many years of work. The project showed how dedicated she was to using her platform to tell important stories. She was able to raise awareness about social issues and show that she could handle complicated and emotionally charged stories. This role cemented her reputation as a serious, versatile actress who can handle tough material with honesty and depth. Susan Day stopped acting in 2004 after many years of work and many professional successes. When she chose to step away from the public eye, it marked the end of a career spanning more than 30 years that was marked by flexibility, strength, and unwavering dedication to her work. When she retired, she had time to think about a career that had been both popular and true to her art. She left behind a legacy marked by both critical acclaim and lasting public affection. Her decision to leave the industry also showed that she made a conscious choice to put her own happiness and fulfillment first, showing that long-term success can go hand in hand with making thoughtful life choices outside of the spotlight. Susan Day's private problems that aren't in the public eye. After Susan Day's amazing acting career and the legacy she created over many years, it is important to look at the problems and scandals that affected her life outside of acting. This will give us a better idea of the person behind the fame. Even though Day was praised by critics and became very popular, she had problems that most people didn't know about. These problems show the stresses, weaknesses, and emotional difficulties that come with working in the entertainment industry. While her career was marked by iconic roles and a wide range of tasks, the personal problems she faced showed the less obvious aspects of growing up and living in the public eye. Day developed anorexia nervosa when she was at the height of her early fame, especially when she was on The Partridge Family. This eating disorder shows how closely young women in Hollywood are watched and what is expected of them. When you add the TV industry and the cultural fixation on looks, you have a place where outside opinions heavily affected how she felt about herself. She was becoming a bigger star, but keeping up a public image that met the standards of the industry and society was hard on her personally during this time. Anorexia nervosa and its physical and emotional effects brought to light the problems that young performers often have. They showed that fame and success do not always protect people from having deep personal health problems. For Day, these stresses were made worse by the constant pressure to look perfect on screen and in public. This is typical of teen actors who became famous during a time when looks were more important than health. As Day moved up in her career, she faced another very personal problem: alcoholism. In 1993, after tabloids published detailed stories about her personal life, she admitted in public that she had a problem with alcohol. At first, they were upset and angry that the media was getting in the way of their private lives, showing how hard it is to deal with problems when everyone is watching. Eventually, though, she opened up about her struggles with alcoholism, which was both a key step toward recovery and a public recognition of a problem that affects many people, no matter their fame or social status. By being honest about her problems, Day not only took back control of her own story, but she also helped make the life of a celebrity less glamorous. Her story shows how performers are under a lot of pressure to keep up a good public image while also dealing with deeply personal and sometimes crippling problems. It also talks about how self-awareness, resilience, and support networks can help people beat addiction. This shows that being successful at work doesn't make you immune to human weaknesses. The Partridge Family has had a lasting effect on Day's personal and professional life, which is shown by the fact that she consistently turns down reunion projects. Shirley Jones's autobiography says that Day chose not to attend any of the series' reunions on purpose, which showed that she wanted to separate herself from parts of her early fame that did not fit with who she was now. While some co-stars see these projects as chances to reconnect with fans and honor their shared history, Day's repeated refusals show that she puts her own emotional and mental needs ahead of what the public wants. This decision shows how hard it can be to manage a legacy in the entertainment business, where fan love and nostalgia can sometimes get in the way of a person's personal history and health. Day put her own health and freedom first by setting these limits. She took charge of her life and made sure that her past work did not define who she was now or in the future. The complicated love story between David Cassidy and Susan Day outside of acting. In light of the problems Susan Day faced in her personal life and career, it's impossible to ignore the complicated relationship she had with David Cassidy, who played her co-star on The Partridge Family. Their relationship was a mix of friendship, admiration, and romantic interest. During the years they worked together, they became close. They played siblings Laurie and Keith Partridge, but their relationship was much more complicated off-screen. Day had a crush on Cassidy that she didn't get back, but the actor, who was one of the most popular teen idols of the 1970s, failed to return her feelings. This imbalance caused emotional tension and awkwardness, showing how personal problems and misunderstandings can happen in close work relationships when fame is at stake. Cassidy made Susan Day feel very strongly about herself. It was Shirley Jones who wrote about Cassidy's life in her 1994 book Seamen Get Happy, Fear and Loathing on the Partridge Family bus that Susan had a huge crush on David. She was crazy about him and angry about him. These feelings showed how much Day loved her, even though she was also busy with the public demands of being in a major TV show. Their interactions off-screen, which included times when they were close and talked about similar experiences, created an atmosphere where Day felt compelled to talk about how she felt. Cassidy, on the other hand, saw things differently because of a different reality. He saw Day as a sister because they had become close and protective of each other, and when she told him about her romantic interest, it made him feel uncertain and uneasy. After filming the last episode of The Partridge Family, the two spent time together at Cassidy's old high school, where Day told him in detail about her love for him that had been going on for a long time. Cassidy wrote in his autobiography that the conversation went on for hours and that Day talked about not only how she felt but also her hopes and fears for the future of their relationship. Cassidy was clear about how he felt about her, even though he agreed that she was pretty. He wasn't attracted to her sexually or romantically. While this difference is honest, it shows how emotional closeness and physical desire can be at odds with each other. This can make relationships between co-workers difficult, especially when one person feels strongly about someone but doesn't want to share their feelings. Later, when Dave went to see Cassidy at his ranch in San Diego, things got physical. Cassidy says that their conversation turned into making out and then spending time in bed together. But even after this short sexual encounter, Cassidy had trouble with the idea of being close to someone. Because he still saw Day as his best female friend and not as a sexual partner. He wrote in an honest way, "Susan lacked the slutty quality of a woman that I always found so attractive. I didn't think she was dirty. She wasn't mean. She was fine." While Cassidy was thinking about this experience, it became clear to him how difficult it was to be physically close to someone he had strong platonic affection for. It also shows how personal values and tastes can affect romantic and sexual relationships, leading to awkward or unsatisfying encounters even when two people are attracted to each other or care about each other. Their relationship was affected by the encounter at Cassidy's ranch, even though it was short and not satisfying in the end. Cassidy admitted that she felt like she had to choose between doing something and not doing something. Not sure how to deal with Day's feelings without hurting their friendship. He tried to ease the tension by making them laugh. By the end of the night, they were both asleep, and the problem hadn't been solved in a meaningful way. The next morning, Cassidy said that the brief sexual encounter had not gone very well. This small event, while not important on its own, became a symbol of how complicated their relationship was off-screen. Their experience is a good reminder that personal relationships are rarely easy or predictable, especially ones that are formed under the stress of working together and being watched by the public. Even with these problems, and Cassidy kept in touch on and off after the Partridge Family ended. Notably, they presented an award together at the MTV Video Music Awards in the early 1990s. This showed that, at least in public, they could get along with each other at work. However, Cassidy wrote in his autobiography that turning their friendship into something more romantic or sexual had hurt it in the end. He wrote, "I still love Susan in some special way, to show how much he cared about Day. I'll never forget that," which shows how complicated my feelings were even after the event. The fact that this love lasts for so long shows how complex personal bonds can be, even when expectations aren't met or feelings aren't returned. Another layer of complexity is added by Day's response, or lack of response, to the situation. She has mostly kept quiet about her relationship with Cassidy and chose not to go to any Partridge Family reunions, which is in line with how she handles her public image and personal boundaries in general. In an interview with CelebrityNews in 2000, Cassidy said that writing about the incident honestly in his memoir caused a permanent rift between them, even though he sent her a letter of apology. He said, "I don't know why, but I never heard a response. Shirley, Danny, Bonaduce, and none of them have either." This shows how honest revelations can cause long-lasting tension and how hard it is to keep private relationships going when everyone is watching.